Boring vanilla headlines like this are hiding a serious problem in Arkansas government. Right now, Arkansas state legislators are holding small town funding hostage. They're blaming it on audits, but this is really a setup to justify erasing these small rural communities off the map. Now, fair warning, y'all, I have tried to make a video about this several times, but I get so frustrated and upset about it that I just start ranting, and it turns into a 20-minute video that nobody's gonna watch. So, I'm gonna try to keep this one short, but I'm gonna need y'all to lock in with me if you live in a small town or know folks who do, because this is very important. Here's how it started. Back in July, a subcommittee of the Arkansas legislature voted to freeze Turnback funds for about 45 cities that were late on their 2022 water and sewer audits. These were due in July 2024. They get about 18 months to complete their audit. Also put about 100 other towns on notice that were late for their 2023 water and sewer audits. Now, these had just been due about 10 days before this subcommittee met. So even though they were just now late, legislators sent notice that if they didn't get their audits in right away for their water and sewer, not their general municipal audit, but their water and sewer audits, that they would be subject to losing their state turnback funds. Now, by September, legislators realized they'd really screwed up because this went into effect immediately. So they came back for committee meetings in September and they voted to tell the state treasurer to go ahead and release the money to those towns, as long as they got their audits in by December 31st. If they didn't get in by December 31st, this was going to go back into effect and everybody would be out of time. But here's the kicker in this. When they passed the vote in September, they didn't follow the law that they themselves had created not that long ago that govern how this process works when they suspend turnback funds. This was the first time it's ever happened in Arkansas history, and they didn't follow the process they created. The treasurer could not legally release those funds back to the communities. He reached out to the state attorney general for guidance, and the AG said that won't work because they didn't create a process to walk back their votes. The only way they could undo it would be to take a vote to expunge their original vote in July, and that would make it like it had never happened in the first place. But it takes a 2/3 majority to expunge a vote. At this point, you may be asking, Kristen, what are turnback funds? Why does this even matter to me? Well, it's important to understand what these turnback funds actually are. These aren't a gift from the state. They're not a grant. They aren't discretionary funds. This funding is paid in by residents in the form of taxes. And then it is by law dedicated back to these local communities to cover the cost of state-mandated services. Think water and sewer infrastructure, law enforcement, services that are provided by local government. So now we get to the October committee meeting, where the lawmakers got the news that their September vote didn't take effect because it didn't follow the law. And they were pissed. Spent over 2 hours arguing about this. Now, do you think they were debating what's the best way to help these small towns to make sure that they're getting their audits done and to address the issues that they have heard from mayors in these communities several times are happening and causing them to not get this done? No, my friend. They did not. They spent 2 hours bitching about the treasurer and AG making them follow the law that they passed. And at the end of it, they still did not expunge their original vote. They did not vote to give these turnback funds back to the rural communities. So how does this all tie into erasing these small towns off the map? Since the legislative session ended, I've watched pretty much every meeting of the Legislative Joint Audit Committee. And I've been keeping up with the legislature for quite a while now. First time I've ever heard them repeatedly talk about revoking a small town's charter. Over and over, they have brought this up. Here's the most recent one.
These cities that are so tiny, that are so small, that they don't have the money to hire the auditor to do this work, it is the ultimate conclusion of this that they would just simply lose their charter and quit struggling.
Right now, there's not a process for the legislature to revoke a charter or for a city to surrender their charter. And so the legislature is manufacturing a crisis so that they can justify creating a process themselves. Don't get me wrong here. Audits are important for transparency, but these are teeny tiny towns. Most of them are 200 people or less, and they don't have sales tax revenue, right? There's very limited property tax revenue. The state turnback funds are their primary source of revenue. And most of the time, the mayors and folks who are leading these small towns are retired or they're elderly, and they're doing it on a part-time basis for a few $100s a month. We hear them come in and say, we don't have an extra $15,000 to pay for an audit. But in some cases, there are communities that they have contracted with an auditor, like the city of Elaine in Phillips County has contracted with an auditor, but they're just waiting for that auditor to get to their books. And they lost their funding. And because of that, they had to cut loose the contractors who service their water and sewer infrastructure for residents in that community that paid in those taxes. The reason I see this as a major power grab by the legislature is because if a city is not in compliance with municipal accounting law, the legislature can refer them to their local prosecuting attorney. They can refer it to the state attorney general for investigation and prosecution if necessary. It is not the role of state legislators to punish taxpayers and then redistribute the taxes they've paid in to other cities, because that's part of the rules that they set up. They don't talk about that a lot, but that's part of the rules they set up. If the turnback funds sit in escrow for 6 months, they are forfeited and redistributed to other cities. These lawmakers have forgotten that they are accountable to the people, that they are accountable to their constituents, not the other way around. Please help spread this around, spread this message, because this is not how government is supposed to work. Lawmakers were elected by people who live in small towns like this all over Arkansas, and these communities have identity, they have history, and they have people who need local representation. And the legislature is working to eliminate that, and the media is not doing an adequate job of covering it. So I hope you hung with me. Please spread the word.